My name is Maya, and I have a rule. It's simple, really. Never unpack. See that suitcase by the door? It's been there for 3 days. It'll probably be there for 3 months. Or 3 weeks. You never know with foster care. One day you're eating cereal at a table with people who smile too much, and the next day a social worker is knocking, saying, "Time to go, Maya." So I don't unpack. I don't hang up my posters. I don't put my socks in the drawer, because if I unpack, I'm admitting I'm staying. And if I stay, I start to care. And caring, well, caring is the heavy part. That's the part that hurts when the car comes back to take you away. Today, though, the silence in this new house was too loud. So I did what I always do. I grabbed my jacket, slipped out the back door, and walked to the only place that feels the same in every town, the library. But today, the library felt different. The air smelled like old paper and something else, like ozone, like static. And deep in the back, behind the history section, a door I'd never seen before stood slightly ajar. The sign above it didn't say staff only, it said lost and found, abstract items. I pushed the door open. Inside wasn't a closet, it was a room, a circular room with shelves that went all the way to the ceiling, but instead of books, the shelves were lined with glass jars. Hundreds of them, each one glowing with a soft, swirling light. I stepped closer. One jar was labeled A Summer Breeze, another, The Courage to Say No. They moved inside the glass like liquid starlight. "We all lose things, Maya," a voice said softly. I jumped. An elderly woman stood behind me. She wore a cardigan and had glasses on a chain. This was Ms. Gable, the librarian. She didn't look surprised to see me. She looked like she'd been waiting. "Sometimes," she continued, picking up a jar that glowed with a warm amber light, "we need to borrow them back until we find our own." She held it out to me. The label read, "Belonging." "It's not magic," she said, seeing my hesitation. "It's just a reminder. You can keep it for 1 week. But remember, borrowed things must be returned. What you do with them, that stays with you." I took the jar. It was warm in my hands, like holding a mug of hot chocolate on a cold day. For the first time in 6 moves, the knot in my stomach loosened. Just a little. The next morning, the jar was still glowing on my nightstand. Not bright like a lamp, but soft, like a candle behind a curtain. I wrapped it in my thickest sweater and shoved it deep into my backpack. It felt heavy, but not in a bad way. It felt like an anchor. On the bus, I sat in the back, like always. But today, the warmth from my bag seeped through the fabric. It reminded me of holding a hand. For the first time, I didn't stare at my shoes. I looked up. I saw kids sharing snacks, laughing at jokes I didn't hear, and instead of feeling like an outsider looking in, I just felt present. At school, the hallways were a river of noise and lockers slamming. Usually, I'm a ghost. I slipped through the cracks. But today, when Leo dropped his stack of history books right in front of me, I didn't look away. I stopped. I picked one up. He looked shocked, then he smiled. A real smile. "Thanks," he said. "No problem," I said. My voice sounded steady, stronger. Later, in Mr. Henderson's class, he asked for partners for the science fair. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Don't raise your hand," my brain screamed. "Stay safe, stay invisible." But the jar in my bag gave a little pulse, warm, encouraging, like a nudge. My hand went up before I could stop it. Leo turned around and pointed at me. We were partners. That afternoon, I went back to the library. Ms. Gable was shelving books near the hidden door. She didn't ask if I liked the jar. She just asked, "Did it help?" It felt like I wasn't alone, I admitted. She nodded slowly. "Borrowed courage is still courage, Maya. But remember, you have to give it back. What you do with it, that stays with you." That night, I looked at my suitcase. The zipper stared back at me. For 3 days, it had been a wall. Tonight, it looked like a mouth waiting to speak. I reached out. My fingers touched the metal tab, and for the first time in 6 moves, I didn't pull away. I pulled it down, just an inch, enough to let the light in. The next morning, the nightstand was bare. No glow, no warmth, just wood and dust. I felt a hollow ache in my chest, like I'd left something important behind. Or maybe, like I'd lost a friend. School was louder than usual. The lockers slammed like gunshots. I kept my head down, waiting for the feeling of invisibility to return, and it did, for a while. At lunch, Leo found me in the library. We sat at a corner table with cardboard and baking soda for our volcano. It was quiet, awkward. I stared at my hands, wondering if he could tell I was fake, that the girl who raised her hand yesterday was gone, borrowed and returned. "I'm glad we're partners," Leo said suddenly. I looked up. "Why?" "Because you didn't laugh," he said. "When I dropped my books, Everyone else does. Or they pretend not to see. I blinked. I wouldn't laugh. I know, he smiled. That's why. When I got home, the smell of roast chicken hit me. Sarah was stirring a pot on the stove. She looked up, expecting me to rush past. Dinner's ready when you are, she said softly. I stopped. I inhaled. It smelled like safety. It smelled like maybe, just maybe, I could stay. I went to my room. The suitcase stood by the door, a silent sentinel. I walked over to it. My fingers found the zipper tab. In that moment, I realized something. The jar hadn't made me brave. It had just turned down the noise in my head so I could hear myself. And Leo? He wasn't looking for magic. He was just looking for someone who saw him. But when I got home, the fear came back. Sarah, my foster mom, asked me if I wanted to pick out paint for my walls. Blue, green, yellow? My throat closed up. Paint meant permanence. Permanence meant pain. I mumbled something about being tired and ran to my room. I slammed the door and slid down against it, breathing hard. I looked at the suitcase, still unzipped, still waiting. Ms. Gable's voice echoed in my mind. What you do with it stays with you. I stood up. My legs were shaky, but I walked to my desk. I took out a sheet of notebook paper. I didn't write about feelings. I didn't write about fears. I wrote 3 words. Thanks for today. I folded it neatly. Tomorrow, I'd give it to Leo. It wasn't a wish. It wasn't magic. It was just a start. And for the first time, that felt like enough. The next morning, I found Leo by his locker. My hands were shaking, but not because of fear, because of anticipation. I held out the folded paper. For you, I said. He took it, unfolded it, and read the 3 words. He didn't say anything big. He just smiled, folded it back up, and slipped it into his pocket, right over his heart. See you in class, he said. See you, I replied. That afternoon, our volcano erupted. Baking soda and vinegar foam spilled over the cardboard mountain, covering the table. We laughed. Actually laughed. Mr. Henderson gave us an A+, but the grade didn't matter. What mattered was that for 20 minutes, I wasn't the new girl. I was Maya, and I was good at science. Walking home, the air felt different, crisper. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, reminding me of the jar's glow. But this light was real. This warmth was mine. When I got home, the smell of roast chicken hit me. Sarah was stirring a pot on the stove. She looked up, expecting me to rush past. Dinner's ready when you are, she said softly. I stopped. I inhaled. It smelled like safety. It smelled like maybe, just maybe, I could stay. I went to my room. The suitcase stood by the door, a silent sentinel. I walked over to it. My fingers found the zipper tab. Zip! The sound was loud in the quiet room. I pulled it all the way down. I started pulling things out. Jeans, t-shirts, my favorite book, and at the very bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, a photograph of my mom. I hadn't looked at it in months. Too painful. I placed it on the nightstand, right where the jar had been. I sat on the bed. The sheets were still the foster home's plain white ones, but tomorrow I'd ask Sarah if I could buy some new ones. Maybe blue. Or yellow. I looked at the photo. Then I looked out the window at the darkening sky. I was still scared. I always would be. But for the first time, I wasn't packing to leave. I was unpacking to stay. And that was my wish. Not magic, just here.